This is also a time of change for my family.
The monarchy did not tremble in public first. It trembled in private, behind a closed door, with one pen, one file, and one decision King Charles knew could change the balance of power around the crown. While the palace carried on as if nothing had happened, a document had already been signed, and its target was unmistakable: Camilla's future influence. Before we go deeper into what this really means for the royal family, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss a single update. Charles sat alone with the file open before him, and for a long moment, even the silence seemed to press against his chest. The crown, meaning the monarchy's authority and duty beyond any one person's feelings, demanded clarity from him. The document was called the Consort Influence Limitation Directive, a private royal order, meant to limit how much power a queen consort could hold behind palace doors. A queen consort is the wife of a reigning king, honored beside him in public, but not meant to command the future of the throne. That distinction mattered now, because Camilla had become more than a figure beside Charles. She had become a presence inside decisions, conversations, and rooms where the next reign was quietly being shaped. Charles read the final page twice. He did not rush. He did not look relieved. His hand paused above the signature line, as if the ink itself carried the weight of betrayal. The directive restricted Camilla's future access to succession discussions, private estate strategy, and selected advisory channels connected to William and Catherine. Succession discussions mean conversations about who inherits royal responsibility and how the next generation prepares for it. Private estate strategy means decisions about royal property, family trusts, and sensitive assets that shape influence away from cameras. Catherine mattered because her future role beside William depended on a structure free from competing pressure, and William mattered because every choice made now would one day land on his shoulders. Camilla knew nothing. That was the first wound. She moved through the palace, believing the old rhythm still held, while Charles had already changed the music. William knew. A senior private secretary knew. That same private secretary locked the file away before dawn, his face tight, his steps careful, because he understood the order was not ordinary paperwork. It was a boundary drawn through a marriage. The first sign came quietly. Camilla's name disappeared from a restricted briefing list she had received without question. For months, no one announced it. No one explained it. But the absence spoke louder than any statement. Charles had signed. William had been told. Camilla had been left outside the truth. And once the document left Charles's desk, it stopped being only a royal decision and became a personal test for everyone closest to the throne. Every royal crisis has a public face, but this one began with private heartbreak. Charles had to choose between the woman beside him and the institution he was born to protect. Camilla stood to lose the invisible authority she had spent years building. William faced the future with guarded caution. Catherine watched the family structure shift, knowing one signature could reshape every room she entered. Charles carried the burden like a stone under the ribs, because monarchy was not just ceremony, it was a lifelong promise to protect the line of succession. The line of succession means the order of people who inherit the throne, and for the king, that order had to remain clean, stable, and free from hidden pressure. Yet he was also a husband, and the queen consort was not a stranger in his life. She had stood beside him through scandal, waiting, judgment, and finally acceptance. Now he had signed a paper that quietly told her there were rooms she could no longer enter. William received the news in a private sitting room, and the prince lowered his eyes before he answered. He understood the danger at once. If the document became known, it would not sound like careful planning. It would sound like rejection. A private sitting room is a smaller royal reception space, used for confidential conversations away from public duty. And this one held the kind of silence that makes every breath feel loud. The future king did not smile. He did not celebrate. He asked whether Camilla had been told, and when Charles looked away, the answer arrived before the words did. Catherine felt the cost before anyone explained it fully. William chose his words carefully when he told her the directive would change how Camilla was treated in future family planning, and Catherine's face tightened with understanding. Future family planning, in this palace sense, meant decisions about roles, appearances, access, and influence as the next reign took shape. She knew why it mattered. If the queen consort remained too close to every private decision, the next chapter could begin under someone else's shadow. But Catherine also knew what it meant for a woman to feel pushed aside while expected to stand in public with calm. The palace moved quickly after that. Aides altered briefing protocols, meaning the rules for who receives updates, without offering Camilla a direct explanation. One secretary removed her name from a circulation list and paused with the pen still in his hand. The queen consort had not been confronted. She had been edited out. And before she ever heard the truth from Charles, she began to feel the walls closing around her. The document did not appear from nowhere. It was born from one moment. Everyone inside the palace later remembered, with uncomfortable clarity. A ceremony meant to show unity became the turning point. A glance was noticed. A correction was made. A private remark landed too sharply. And after that day, Charles began to see that influence, if left unchecked, could become its own form of power. Camilla arrived at the Windsor Foundation ceremony, expecting order, respect, and the quiet certainty that her place would be understood without being explained. The Windsor Foundation ceremony was a formal royal event created to present the monarchy's public work as one shared mission, with senior figures placed carefully to show unity and continuity. That mattered, because seating, speaking order, and public placement inside royal life are never small details. They tell the country who carries weight. They tell the family who is rising. They tell the palace where tomorrow is already being written. Catherine stood ready for her role, calm on the surface, but aware of every look around her. William watched the room with the guarded stillness of a man who knew that public harmony often hides private strain. Then Camilla challenged the seating and speaking order, moments before the event began. She did not shout. She did not need to. The queen consort simply made it clear that Catherine's place in the program should not have been settled without wider consultation. Future royal presentation, meaning the careful way the next generation is shown to the public, suddenly became a battlefield dressed in polite words. Catherine held her composure, but the damage had already landed. Afterward, she stood silently in a corridor, while William came to her side and asked whether she felt deliberately undermined. The prince kept his voice low, but there was anger beneath it. Catherine did not answer quickly. She knew that one complaint could sound like weakness, and silence could look like surrender. That was the cruelty of the moment. She had been expected to absorb the blow and still carry the grace of the future queen. Charles heard the details later, through a documented account, prepared by a senior private secretary, and the king's expression changed before the account was finished. Camilla had said one sentence that no one in that room forgot. "Nothing moves forward without understanding my place." The words were not long, but they carried a warning. To Charles, they sounded less like hurt and more like control reaching toward the future. The palace remembered that sentence. William remembered Catherine's silence. Charles remembered the hard truth forming inside him. From that ceremony onward, the king began preparing a decision Camilla would experience not as procedure, but as betrayal. The Windsor moment became the quiet fracture beneath everything. And now that fracture was about to break into a confrontation no aid could soften. Camilla did not need a formal announcement to know something had changed. She noticed the missing folder first. Then the closed meeting she had not been invited to. Then the careful faces of aides who suddenly looked away too quickly. By the time she walked into Charles's private room, the truth was already standing between them, colder than anger and heavier than silence. Camilla held the briefing card in her hand, as if it had become evidence, and the queen consort refused to let another secretary explain what only Charles could answer. A future planning briefing was a private meeting where senior royals and trusted advisors discussed roles, access, and family strategy for the next reign. Her office had always been included because presence meant influence, and influence meant she could shape what happened before choices became official. Now her name was gone, and the absence told her that the rules had changed before she had been allowed to speak. Charles looked up when she entered, and the king understood that the careful silence had failed. Camilla placed the card on the table, not hard, not loud, but with enough force to make the moment impossible to soften. She asked whether her position had been reduced without her consent. He did not raise his voice. He told her the crown had to prepare for the future, without confusion over authority. The crown, in this sense, meant the monarchy as an institution, bigger than marriage, hurt, or personal comfort. That mattered because one blurred line could become a crisis later, when William and Catherine would be expected to lead without hidden pressure behind them. Camilla stared at him, and her control became more painful than anger. She asked whether William had known before her. Charles said nothing for one breath too long, and the silence answered first. The queen consort stepped back as if the room itself had shifted. She could accept a hard decision. She could not accept being the last person inside her own marriage to understand it. Charles finally admitted the signed document limited her role in succession adjacent decisions, meaning choices close to the future of the throne, even when they did not name the throne directly. Camilla heard the truth then. She had not been removed from public dignity, but she had been moved from private power. The wound was precise. The king had protected the future by cutting into the present. Camilla left with her composure intact, but her silence had changed. The door closed behind her, and what began as a private argument now moved into the machinery of power, where loyalty was measured by who obeyed the new order first. A royal document means little until people obey it. That is when the real power reveals itself. Not in speeches, not in ceremonies, but in calendars changed without explanation, folders redirected before breakfast, and aides learning that the safest loyalty is the one aligned with the future. Inside the palace, Charles's signature began moving through corridors, like a command no one dared question. Charles had not shouted an order, but the king had changed the map. His private office became the center of control, while William's future planning circle received access that once moved more freely around Camilla's, a side of the household. A private office, in royal terms, means the team that handles a senior royal's confidential papers, meetings, and decisions. A future planning circle means the trusted group preparing the next reign before it publicly arrives. Those details mattered, because power in the palace does not always look like power. Sometimes it looks like who receives a folder first. Sometimes it looks like whose name remains on a schedule. A senior courtier stood over one briefing envelope and saw the new order in its simplest form. Camilla's initials had been written in the corner, small but familiar, the mark that meant the queen consort would receive the paper automatically. The courtier crossed them out, hesitated, then sealed the envelope for William instead. He knew the gesture was tiny. He also knew it was historic. The queen consort would still smile beside Charles in public, still stand near the king at national moments, still carry the dignity of her title. But behind the doors where influence truly lived, her reach had been narrowed. William felt the weight of that narrowing the moment the redirected papers reached him. The prince did not treat it as a victory. He knew Camilla would feel the cut, and he knew Charles had made the decision, because the future could not be built in confusion. Catherine's role also rested inside that choice, because the future queen could not step forward while another woman's private influence hovered over the next reign. The palace needed one clear line, and the future king understood that clarity often arrives dressed as cruelty. Charles's intention became impossible to miss. He preserved Camilla's public status while limiting her hidden reach. The king protected the image of unity, but he quietly removed the channels that could shape decisions before William and Catherine even entered the room. That was the heart of the document. It did not humiliate her in front of the country. It restrained her where the country could not see. The machinery moved on. Schedules shifted. Papers changed hands. Doors opened for some and stayed closed for others. But once the first changed schedule reached Camilla's office, the palace could no longer hide the emotional cost of obedience. It could redirect papers in silence, but it could not control the moment a person realized she had been moved to the edge of the room. The first true fallout was not a headline. It was a chair left empty. Camilla entered a room, expecting continuity, and found absence instead. No raised voices, no public insult, just the quiet cruelty of exclusion, dressed as procedure. In that moment, the queen consort understood the document was not symbolic. It had teeth, and those teeth had already closed around her future. Camilla arrived for what she believed was a routine planning conversation. and the silence around her felt too careful to be innocent. A routine planning conversation, inside royal life, means a private meeting, where schedules, roles, family appearances, and future responsibilities are arranged before the public ever sees the result. That mattered, because these meetings were not small diary checks. They were where influence settled into shape. They decided who stood close to Charles, who moved near William, and who helped guide Catherine's path as the future queen. The aide waiting for Camilla kept his voice low, respectful, and painfully steady. He told her the meeting had been narrowed under new instructions. And the queen consort understood at once that respectful words could still carry humiliation. New instructions meant the consort influence limitation directive was already active, not merely signed and hidden in a locked file. The directive was the private order Charles had approved to limit her access to sensitive, future decisions. It mattered because a signed document only becomes real when other people begin obeying it, and now obedience had reached her face. Camilla did not move for several seconds. Then she removed her gloves slowly, finger by finger, using the small gesture to hide how deeply the news had struck her. She asked whether Charles had approved the change. The aide did not answer directly, and that was answer enough. The queen consort looked toward the empty chair that should have been hers, and in that chair sat the truth of her new position. She had not been publicly stripped of dignity. She had been privately pushed away from power. Camilla sat alone afterward beside a window, not crying, not collapsing, but visibly shaken by the realization that Charles had acted without her agreement. The king had chosen order over tenderness, and she could feel the choice in every missing folder, every changed schedule, every avoided gaze. Then the second blow arrived. Catherine had remained inside the advisory circle, from which Camilla had been partially, removed. An advisory circle means the trusted group allowed to shape private guidance before decisions are final. That mattered because Catherine's place was being protected, while Camilla, reach, was being reduced. Camilla absorbed the news in silence, and the silence became heavier than anger. Charles had not erased her. He had contained her. Yet the turning point would not come from rage, pride, or public defiance. After the schedules, the folders, and the formal explanations, only one thing remained: the husband and wife beneath the crowns. For the first time since the signature, there were no private secretaries, no advisors, no softened language. Just Charles and Camilla, in a room where every title suddenly felt too heavy. He had made the decision as king. She had felt it as a wife. And between those two truths sat the question neither of them could avoid. What survives when duty outranks intimacy? Charles asked for the meeting after seeing how deeply the rollout had wounded her. The operational rollout meant the way the signed order moved from paper into daily palace life, changing schedules, access, and private briefings without a public announcement. That mattered because Camilla had not only lost entry to certain rooms, she had been made to feel the loss through other people's obedience. A small room away from official desks became the only place left where the king and the queen, consort, could speak without protocol standing between them. Camilla did not begin with anger. She began with hurt. She told Charles the limitation itself was painful, but the secrecy cut deeper. The queen consort said she could have faced a hard boundary if he had trusted her with the truth first. Instead, William knew before she did, and that single fact had turned a royal decision into a personal humiliation. She had stood beside Charles for years, endured judgment beside him, and now the king had allowed her to discover her reduced influence through missing folders and changed instructions. Charles listened without interrupting, and the silence between them no longer felt strategic. It felt human. He admitted he feared that warning Camilla first would turn a constitutional decision into a marital negotiation. A constitutional decision, in simple terms, means a choice connected to how the monarchy functions as an institution, not just how the family feels in private. That mattered because the next reign could not be built on private bargaining. William needed a clear future. Catherine needed protected space. The crown needed order before emotion could pull it apart. Camilla absorbed the words slowly, and something in her resistance began to shift. Charles made clear that the document was permanent in structure, but careful in scope. It limited influence, not marriage. It restricted private reach, not public dignity. The queen consort would still stand beside him, still carry honor, still remain part of his life, but she would no longer shape the hidden channels surrounding William and Catherine's future authority. Charles did not ask her to forgive the secrecy. Camilla did not pretend the wound had closed. Yet both understood the line had been drawn. The king was not only correcting her, he was building a wall around the next reign. The palace had contained the pain behind doors, but by morning, the story had crossed the gates and entered the national imagination. By sunrise, the secret had become a national drama. Not every detail was known, but enough had escaped to ignite the country. The monarchy woke to front pages, broadcasters, crowds, and commentary that turned one private signature into a public verdict. Suddenly, the question was no longer only what Charles had done. It was what Britain believed his decision revealed. William watched the morning coverage in silence, and the prince understood at once that privacy had failed. The story had broken into public view after briefing changes, and palace movements became too visible for royal watchers to ignore. Royal watchers are commentators, journalists, and close observers who study palace patterns for signs of internal change. That mattered because the monarchy often speaks through silence, and when schedules shift without explanation, people begin reading the gaps. The future king knew this was no longer just a family wound. It had become a test of public trust. Catherine stood beside him and placed a hand on his shoulder, but she did not pretend the moment was simple. Palace response, meaning the official wording used to calm public pressure, stayed controlled and minimal. It confirmed only that internal advisory structures remained under review. Internal advisory structures are the private channels that guide decisions before they reach the public stage. That mattered because those channels were exactly where Camilla's influence had been limited. Catherine knew her name would be pulled into the storm, even though she had not asked for Charles to sign the document, and had not demanded the queen consort be pushed away. Charles heard the first broadcast summary before the palace phones fully settled. The king did not react with anger. He listened, as one morning presenter framed the story as a rare boundary drawn inside the modern monarchy, and those words landed with cold force. A boundary was exactly what he had created, but now the whole country could feel its shape. The monarch had wanted discipline. The public heard division. Camilla saw the newspaper front page later, and the headline struck harder than the commentary. A London paper showed a darkened palace window beneath the words, "The consort boundary." The queen consort stared at it, without speaking. Outside Buckingham Palace, a small crowd gathered near the gates, some defending Charles's duty, others calling the decision cold. Buckingham Palace is the central working symbol of the monarchy, so a crowd there turns private pain into national theater. Camilla knew then that the document had escaped the room where it began. William remained still as the coverage grew louder. Catherine stayed close, aware that the decision meant protection for the future, but suffering in the present. Charles had saved order, perhaps. Camilla had lost unseen power, certainly. And once the noise of the morning passed, the monarchy was left with the only question that mattered. Had Charles broken trust, or saved the crown from confusion? In the end, the document did not destroy the monarchy. It revealed its oldest truth. Love may live inside palace walls, but power must be disciplined there. Charles's signature wounded Camilla, steadied William, protected Catherine, and redrew the invisible map of the crown. It was painful, deliberate, and final. The monarchy chose clarity over comfort, and everyone paid a price. Charles did not reverse the decision, because the king understood what reversal would mean. The signed directive had become the defining boundary between Camilla, honored public role, and the future authority of William and Catherine. A directive, in plain terms, is an official instruction meant to guide what people can and cannot do. This one mattered because it separated dignity from influence. Camilla could still stand beside Charles before the country, but she could no longer move as freely through the hidden channels shaping the next reign. If he weakened that line, confusion would return at the exact moment the crown needed order. Camilla accepted the new reality with controlled dignity, but acceptance did not erase the pain. The queen consort still carried herself with strength, still understood the value of public calm, still knew how to survive a room filled with whispers. Yet in private, the distance between her and Charles remained visible. In the silences, neither of them rushed to fill. She had not been cast out. She had not been publicly shamed. But she had lost something quieter and sharper, the unseen power of being close to every important decision before anyone else knew it existed. William carried no sense of victory. The prince understood that the future had been protected through a painful family rupture, and that kind of protection never feels clean. Catherine's position had been quietly strengthened, not through confrontation, but through Charles's recognition that the future queen must not inherit uncertainty. A future queen means the woman who will one day stand beside the next king, expected to represent stability, duty, and national trust. That role mattered, because Catherine could not step into it, while another private influence hovered over the path before her. Charles saw the final truth more clearly than anyone. The document had never been only about Camilla. It was about preventing any private influence from overshadowing the next reign. The king had chosen the crown's survival over emotional ease, and that choice changed every relationship around him. Camilla lost unseen power, but kept public dignity. William gained clarity, but carried sorrow. Catherine received protection, but inherited the weight of being the reason some would blame. The shift. The monarchy emerged colder, clearer, and more disciplined. One signature closed an era of private influence and opened a stricter future for the crown. Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and we will see you in next one.